Greetings from Siberia! Last couple of videos that we've been doing, we've been talking about the garden. I guess the garden's been on my mind because it's spring and, well, we spend a lot of time in the garden when it's springtime. So, yeah, gardens. And a lot of people are thinking about gardens now right in the context of food security, the epidemic, the world pandemic, all these kind of things. Suddenly, a lot of people are saying, you know what, having a garden probably wouldn't be a bad idea. And it's not. It's actually a great idea. One of the things that I really like about gardening in Russia, of course, is the opportunity to see different ways of doing things. One of these different ways of doing things that I noticed when I was living way up north in the northern part of Siberia, we're now almost as far south as you can go and still stay in Siberia, was these what are called steamer beds, or little mini greenhouses that the Russians call parniks, or steamers. Now, what is so good about a steamer bed? First of all, this is really going to be useful for those of you who are in that kind of agricultural zone, not even an agricultural zone, but in that kind of environment, in that kind of climate where you've got a pretty decent growing season, you've got a full 90 days, a full 100 days, maybe even a little bit more than that. But your spring is kind of long and wet, and it can be flash cold. So you really have a hard time getting things out into the garden early. So how do you grow things like peppers or tomatoes or even cucumbers when you don't have really a long enough season to make that happen very well in open soil? You don't have a full big greenhouse, but you want to put things outside. You want to grow things outside. But how do you keep them warm? How do you make it happen? Well, this is how you make it happen. And I'm originally from North Idaho, and I know that a lot of gardeners there could really use this system. Now, right up front, I'm going to tell you this is not one of those permaculture sort of back to the earth kind of videos where, oh, you know, by moving my pinky finger, I make everything grow. It's really actually pretty labor intensive, but the results are also really, really, really good. We've just transplanted some of these plants, so if you're looking in the background and saying, that looks terrible, some of them, yeah, we're a little bit late this year, a little bit, few things. But basically, it really actually, past examples say that it really, really works really well. So what is the parnik and what makes it so cool? Well, first of all, as you can see, it's just a wooden box. The ones that I like to do are usually about 20 feet long. Like, I know, 20 feet, it's my thing. My beds are 20 feet long, my parniks are 20 feet long, so 20 feet, 6 meters long, and about 4 or so feet wide, maybe 4.5, about 1.40 meters, 1.5 meters wide. So 20 by 4, and then somewhere between 2.5, 3 feet deep is what you want to look at, something like that. So it's, you know, about a meter, or maybe a little bit less than a meter deep. So you have that box established, and then we put this triangle frame on the top. So down at the end, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but we've got just a vertical bar, and the same thing with the vertical, and then a couple of like rafters here, just 3 along there, and 3 along the other side here. And then we have these rolls of plastic that's this reinforced plastic. It's got as heavy duty plastic as you can find, but I really like to use this kind of woven. It's got a thread in it. So it's a translucent plastic that's also got a thread, and it's kind of mesh, and it's reinforced plastic so it doesn't get torn up in the wind. And that means that you can use it or reuse it again multiple seasons. And I've got it wound up on a stick here, and there's a block right here so that I can put my little stick. And that way I can go over and roll it down, and it just hangs down like that along here, and then hangs down the side, same thing on the other side. So what that does is that I can open it up during the day, and I can close it down at night. So that really helps retain a little bit of the heat. But the real key to this whole system comes from what you don't see. And what you don't see is every spring every fall, after we brought everything in here, you get in there with a shovel and you throw the whole thing out. Like, I know, that's a lot of work, a lot of digging. But you chuck all the dirt out of the box, so that in the spring you can put a layer of manure that is a foot to a foot and a half thick in the bottom. Manure, any compostable materials, like and get your green and your browns about even, mix them up, water them down really nice and good, stomp them down. You get it going, and then you put that dirt that you threw out in the fall, you put that back on top. And what you get then is that compost cooks from the bottom. But because it's about a foot to a foot and a half away from your plants while it's in the most, hot time, it's not enough to hurt the plants. The plant roots won't reach to it, but it is enough to actually heat through that soil and bring the temperature inside of the parnik, inside of the steamer, up by several degrees. So if it flash freezes outside at night, your tomatoes, your cucumbers, your peppers, all that kind of stuff that you started back in February, that you've transplanted out here, they're not in any kind of danger. The other cool thing about these things is that it systemizes composting. So you put in the compost, then in the fall when you throw it out, well, guess what? You've thrown out all that kind of stuff. It's mixed up now. When you throw it back in, your soil has been replenished by turning that over. Again, it's a lot of work, but this system really, really extends your season. It's a very low cost, a little bit labor intensive, but really super way of extending your season extremely significantly, even if you live in northern Siberia, and you can really get back most of May when normally everything outside is still frozen and cold. So these things really, really work. I've had big greenhouses. These work a lot better than the big greenhouses, and one of the main reasons is because most of the day, during the day, both sides are up, and the plants get full sunlight. They get air. You don't have to deal with the kind of greenhouse pests and the greenhouse issues that you'll have in a lot of greenhouses. Or if it's really windy, or for instance, if it starts hailing, you can just drop those down so fast and they're protected right away. So this system is really, really cool, and I suggest that if you're in a climate again where you have got 90 days, but your spring is really long, not super cold, but definitely cold freezes and frost, late into the spring, and you'd really like to extend your season, this is one way of doing that. Yes, it's got some labor-intensive aspects to it, but it's one of the best things that we've been able to use. So that we've ever used before. We don't have a greenhouse. I'd like to put in a decently big-sized greenhouse at some point, but until then, these Russian steam beds really work very, very well. So definitely, that's something I would suggest. And till next time, God bless.